Hello and welcome to Focus on Africa. I am Peter Okwoche. Our top stories. Britain's new Prime Minister takes office after meeting Queen Elizabeth II at Balmoral Castle in Scotland and being invited to form her government.
Good afternoon. I have just accepted Her Majesty the Queen's kind invitation to form a new government.
William Ruto will be sworn in as Kenya's 5th president on Tuesday. So what are the most urgent issues in his in-tray? Also on this program, another attack in Burkina Faso. At least 35 civilians are killed in the north of the country where jihadist rebels are active. And in sports, the biggest club competition in world football, the Champions League, is back on the way, and we are as excited as you are. Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The United Kingdom has a new Prime Minister. Liz Truss was invited to form a new government today by Queen Elizabeth II, making Ms. Truss the UK's 4th Prime Minister in 6 years. Earlier this morning, her predecessor Boris Johnson left number 10 Downing Street for the last time as Prime Minister and offered his resignation to the Queen. In her first speech as Prime Minister, Liz Truss has vowed to tackle soaring energy bills, shorten waiting time to see doctors, and grow the economy through tax cuts and reform. She said her government would transform Britain into an aspiration nation.
I am confident that together we can ride out the storm. We can rebuild our economy, and we can become the modern, brilliant Britain that I know we can be. This is our vital mission to ensure opportunity and prosperity for all people and future generations. I am determined to deliver. Thank you.
So what's Prime Minister Truss's relationship going to be like with Africa? I'm joined now by Dr. Andrew Cheer. He's a Senior Research Fellow at the Norwegian Institute for International Affairs. Thanks for joining us. The UK has had its own share of cost of living, energy problems, and will have them for a time. So what's likely to be in her in-tray for Africa immediately?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I mean, in the wider scheme of things, I don't think much will change. The UK's policy under Boris Johnson, the previous Prime Minister, was lacking. In essence, it didn't have a strategic point of view or focus or pivot. The integrated review that was done by, as it were, the former government also didn't really focus in on a broader Africa strategy. So we did have the UK-Africa Summit a few years ago, but since then there's been a lacking, or should I say, lack of focus on what the UK wants to achieve from that. I think it's not, if we're expecting a sort of a broader policy that we saw under maybe Tony Blair's leadership or even under Theresa May, we won't have that, because in essence, the UK is focused inwards, and that means really trying to deal with its own issues. But what we might see, I suspect, more focus might be with more bilateral partners, and this could be Nigeria, Kenya, which are traditional partners, South Africa, where the UK has had a foothold and continues to have that partnership. So there is where I think maybe some bilateral agreements might increase, but in essence, a broader, wider strategy, as you see with China or
Indeed.
Turkey.
Dr. J, if I may just come in here, because I was at that particular UK-Africa conference that you're talking about, and I spoke to the then Foreign Secretary, who told me that with Brexit, Africa could have a closer relationship with the UK. Ms. Truss is committed to Brexit. Indeed, it's already happened. But how can Africans take advantage of Brexit now with Ms. Truss in power?
Well, I think the sort of focus on commerce is one area where Africans can be able to take advantage to that. But I also think, if I go back to my earlier point, which is where really about the positioning of Africa, Africa has options. So it doesn't necessarily need to look to the UK. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing because it allows Africa to reshape what it sees as a partnership that works for it. So again, to me, I think what the UK needs to do is define what it sees as an interest for African states. That is there for some states, traditional states, as I said, most of them who are post-colonial states. But in essence, some of the other states, it isn't there. And so that's where I think the strategy is lacking from the current government. And there isn't anything to suggest that in her sort of speeches or comments that she has made either. A lot of it is focused on migration as an issue. And while that maybe gets you brownie points at home, it doesn't really score well abroad with African leaders.
Indeed. That's Dr. Andrew Cheer, a senior research fellow at the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs. Thanks for joining us here on Focus in Africa. Thank you. Now, let's go to Kenya, where William Ruto is preparing to be sworn in as Kenya's fifth president on Tuesday. This comes after the Supreme Court upheld the August 9th election results, dismissing several petitions by the opposition leader Raila Odinga and 6 others. So what's top of Ruto's agenda when he gets into office? Well, he takes over a country that is deep in debt. It is believed the country owes foreign and local debtors over $68 billion. Kenyans are also dealing with the rising cost of living, with food prices skyrocketing. Northern Kenya is enduring the worst drought in 40 years, and more than 4 million people are food insecure. And the new president-elect would need to work fast to reconcile a country that has been so politically divided by these elections. Well, I'm now joined by Bobby Mkangi. He's an independent consultant on governance. He joins us from Nairobi. Thanks for talking to us. What does this mean now for such a politically divided Kenya? What can President Ruto, when he gets into power, do to reunite this country?
Well, I think the first thing he needs to do, and he did yesterday in his what you call lap of honor speech when he talked to the nation, was to rhetorically indicate his stretching of his hand, of laying or bearing the hatchet, the political hatchet, and especially so with his political arch rivals during this presidential elections contest. And that first being the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta. He did say that in as much as they have not spoken for months, he was going to give him a call. He was going to call former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, whom he defeated during this election, and talk to them and see how they could move the country forward. So rhetorically, he's already done what I think many Kenyans expected him to do.
But did you find it, Bobby, did you find it strange that President Uhuru Kenyatta refused to acknowledge President-elect Ruto in a speech he gave on Monday evening?
Well, yes, it was strange, him being, yes, outgoing in a couple of days, but he's still the president and constitutionally the symbol of national unity. So it was expected, in as much as he's really going through loser's remorse, but it was expected that he should go beyond that and stretch his hand of friendship, reconciliation, and congratulate the president-elect. But we know we are coming from a very hard fought political contest. The outgoing president's candidate and party, Azimio and Raila Odinga, did lose, and he was speaking a few hours after the Supreme Court practically legitimized William Ruto's win and next administration. So we hope that beyond that, in as much as he said he's going to oversee a smooth transition, he's also going to rhetorically recognize and probably congratulate William Ruto.
Okay,
yes.
Bobby Mkangi there, an independent consultant on governance, speaking to me live from Nairobi. Thanks a lot for your input into this important story. Thank you. Now, the authorities in Burkina Faso say at least 35 civilians have been killed by a bomb that hit a convoy of vehicles in the north of the country where jihadist rebels are active. Dozens of others were wounded in the blast on the road between Djibo and Burzanga, Convoys escorted by Burkina Faso's army are used to deliver supplies to towns that are otherwise cut off by the jihadists. The BBC's Lala C sent this report from Dakar.
The blast happened on one of the essential roads leading to the main cities in the north of Burkina Faso, where jihadist militants have intensified attacks on villages, police stations and military positions for the past 7 years. This time the victims were mainly traders who were going to buy supplies in Ouagadougou, and also students who were returning to the capital for the schools opening next week. No one has claimed the responsibility for this attack, but previous ones have been attributed to groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda in the Sahel, who usually target such convoys with improvised explosive devices. Lately, though, the government has been emphasizing they are intensifying the army's operations to curb jihadist attacks, but there appears to be challenges given the increasing insecurity and the number of people continuously being displaced. Lalasi, BBC News, Abidjan.
Let's take a quick look now at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. Zambia plans on holding detailed talks with China and other creditors as it tries to rebuild its economy after defaulting on its foreign debts in 2020. The southern African country last week got a boost on its financial fortunes after securing a $1.3 billion IMF bailout. Finance Minister Situmbeko Musokumtwane said the loan agreement includes passing of a new law that will make it harder for any future government to borrow in a reckless manner. The UNHCR in Sudan has warned of ongoing recruitment and mobilization of fighters from refugee camps in Sudan as the conflict in Tigray escalates. The refugee agency says they have reported their concerns to the Sudanese government. They also say Sudan has granted asylum to 247 former United Nations peacekeepers from Ethiopia. The whereabouts of more than 400 ex-UN peacekeepers who served in the UN mission in the disputed Abyei region remains unknown. Canadian police have found the body of one of two brothers wanted for a mass stabbing that killed 10 people and wounded 18 others in Saskatchewan on Sunday. Senior officers said Damien Sanderson had sustained injuries that did not appear to be self-inflicted. Miles Sanderson is still at large. He's thought to be wounded, but still very dangerous. Still to come here, a battle that must be won. We delve deeper into the fight to end child marriage in Kenya's Samburu region. Welcome back. In Kenya, child marriage has been illegal since 2001, yet 1 in 4 girls are still married before the age of 15. The situation is especially serious in rural areas such as Samburu County in the north of the country, where most people are semi-nomadic cattle herders. Female genital mutilation, or FGM, is also rife. Over 86% of girls are forced to undergo it. BBC Focus on Africa's Lisa Marie Mishtak travelled to Samburu to find out more about the impact of child marriage.
Stella is 22 years old. She's been living in the capital Nairobi for the past year, studying at university. Originally from Samburu County, she was forced to marry a man when she was just 9 years old and gave birth to a son at 11.
One day when they came for me and they took me at night, and I was taken very far. I was taken very far from our place. I was to be married off, you see.
Where did they take you?
Here they took me there, and they told me I'll be living there as a wife to that man. I cried so much.
Stella managed to escape the marriage and got help. She's now studying accountancy at university. She's one of thousands of Samburu girls who are married before the legal age of 18.
Hi, Josephine.
Hi, Lisa.
Nice to meet you.
Dr. Josephine Kalea runs the Samburu Girls Foundation, a rescue centre. She has helped to rescue over 1,200 girls from child marriage and FGM.
This building here is a classroom, and this is where the girls start their first education, like English, Swahili, reading and writing.
And there's 50 girls that sleep inside here?
Yes, right now.
How many girls to a bedroom?
This one has 6 beds, like 3 bunk beds, so they have 6 girls, but sometimes they'll be sleeping even 3 to a bed. The organization is a child protection organization where we rescue girls from harmful cultural practices, which include female genital mutilation, which is 86% in this community, Samburu community. We also rescue girls from child marriages. When I say child, it's literally children, because it's girls aged between 8 to 12-year-olds who get married off after going through female genital mutilation. So we ensure that the girls are safe, so we provide them basic needs: shelter, food, clothing, medical, and they come here as a home.
Some efforts in recent years have been done to reduce child marriage rates, such as extending primary education, but change is very slow.
One, these people are illiterate and they don't know the benefit of education. So they value cows more than education. Most of these older people are not employed. Only their economy depends on livestock. And in case of, it's now drought, they die. And the only source they get to restock is marrying away the little kids.
Many believe that more needs to be done to give young Samburu girls a chance to develop in life.
Let's get more on this story now. Lisa Marie joins me. Lisa Marie, some of the experiences of the girls in this report, very, very harrowing. What more did you find out?
Well, I spent some time up in Samburu, which is around 5 hours north of the capital, Nairobi. And the Samburus are a semi-nomadic pastoralist community who are known for their traditionalist lifestyle. Cattle is a key source of income for them, where one cow can fetch up to $150. Now, I spent some time with Josephine, who you just heard there in that report, and she is a Samburu woman herself, and she spent the past 20 years rescuing girls from harmful cultural practices such as child marriage and also female genital mutilation, known as FGM. And so I spent some time at the foundation that she created, the Samburu Girls Foundation, which is in a centre, in an area called Marilau. And I spoke with some of the girls that were there, and they ranged from ages from 8 years old up until ages of 17, where they then go on to university. And I spent a lot of the time with these girls and heard a lot of harrowing stories. And within Samburu specifically, it's not only child marriage that takes place, it's also FGM. So it's by speaking with Josephine and also hearing some stories, within Samburu specifically, FGM takes place the night before a girl is married. So harrowing stuff.
But this is not just limited to Samburu. I mean, it's not even just limited to Kenya, is it? It's quite widespread across Africa and beyond.
Yeah, that's right. So child marriage is a global issue, and UNICEF, the United Nations Children Fund, reports that South Asia actually has the highest rates of child marriage in the world, and Africa comes second at around 40% of cases. Now, in a country, it's actually Niger, UNICEF reports that they have 80% of child marriage cases where girls are married under the age of 18. Now, UNICEF also released a report in June of this year where they made the link and suggested that child marriage rates are increasing due to drought. Now, in the Horn of Africa, so countries such as Somalia, Ethiopia and Kenya are experiencing higher rates of child marriage. And in Ethiopia specifically, UNICEF reported that there had been a 119% rise in child marriage this year alone.
Lisa Marie Mechtak, thank you very much. And you can watch her reports this Saturday on BBC World News. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, at least 66 people are now known to have died following an earthquake in China. The quake, which had a magnitude of 6.8, hit Sichuan province on Monday. The epicenter was near to the city of Kangding. The area is reported to have suffered severe damage. BBC's correspondent Stephen McDonnell has the latest.
Where the earthquake actually hit is not the big cities where people are locked down. So, for example, if it had been Chengdu, where there are tens of millions of people confined to their homes, you can imagine what a disaster that would have been. And there's been footage all over social media here, by the way, of residents pouring out of buildings after they felt even though it wasn't the epicenter, they felt the earthquake, trying to leave the compounds where they live. And emergency workers saying, well, you can't, don't worry, it's not so serious, this earthquake. Very heated scenes indeed. But where the earthquake really hit, the epicenter is to the west of Sichuan, in the west of Sichuan, up on the Tibetan Plateau. Now, at the best of times, that can be a pretty remote area to move around. The bad news for rescue teams there is that more rain is predicted over the next 3 days. Now, you imagine, there you are, there are hundreds of workers at the moment, rescue workers, trying to reach people who are thought to be trapped under rubble and the like, and you're attempting to cut through collapsed parts of buildings or rock or whatever, and having to do that with the rain as well, it's very tough.
You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. Let's turn to some sports now. My man, PAD, Pierre-Antoine Denis. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Yes, Peter. You know, every year we have the same thrill as the biggest club competition of world football kicks on, the Champions League. And guess what? We're already underway. The first group games of this 2022-2023 season of the European Champions League are at halftime. And Chelsea is in Croatia as the Blues face Dinamo Zagreb. And surprise, the score is 1-0 to Zagreb at halftime. In Germany, Borussia Dortmund hosts Copenhagen and the German Giants are cruising 2-0 at halftime. So no signs that this BVB team is missing Erling Haaland, as the Norwegian striker who left Dortmund for Manchester City is doing wonders at the Etihad Stadium after 10 goals in 7 Premier League games for the citizens. Now the question is, can Erling Haaland transform his explosive form in the European stage and finally get the title in the European Champions League that they are looking for? Pep Guardiola answered that with a smile.
Listen, all the players that came in this season, but the club decided to bring him is to try to make us better. Otherwise, it would be no sense. That help is going to help us to win the title. So I don't know. Always I believe. So if rely on the Erling shoulders, we are not going to win the Champions League. So what to do is do it well to help him to create more chances, and he score goals, and hopefully can do it. But so he came here because we convinced him. Because he felt we didn't have much strikers, he could, play with us and try to be involved in our way we're playing. He's not going to win just for Erling, not going to win just for Erling. This is my feeling. So
But the main focus on Tuesday night is here in Paris and at the Parc des Princes, where in the Ville Lumière, PSG and its stars host Italy's powerhouse Juventus Turin. The game kicks off in about 1 hour time, and a lot of interest around the French club, expected, like Manchester City, to be among the favourites to win their first Champions League. And one of the big talking points ahead of this new European campaign in the French capital is the relationship among the star-studded squad, especially between the Brazilian Neymar and the French world champion Kylian Mbappe. And after a little controversy at the beginning of the season between the two men, Mbappe was asked to give his view on his teammate and their friendship.
Neymar and I have a long relationship. It's been 6 years, I think. We've always had this kind of relationship, based on mutual respect. There's always been moments like this, moments when it's a bit cold, other moments when it's warmer. Sometimes we're like best friends, and other times we talk to each other less. That's the nature of our relationship. I have loads of respect for the player he is, what he represents and the importance he has in our team. But when you have two players with a lot of character, life isn't always straightforward. These things happen, but we always respect each other and have PSG's interest at heart.
That's all the sport for you today for this match day 1 of the Champions League.
That's the nature of our friendship. Sometimes we're best friends and sometimes we don't talk.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is.
Thank you very much. Now, just a reminder of our top story. Liz Truss has promised what she described as a bold plan to see Britain through its economic troubles after her first speech as Prime Minister. That's it from Focus on Africa. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.